My name's Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today we're going to talk about 5 bands that Keith Richards doesn't like that much. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment below, tell me if you like these bands or not, okay? Well, as you might know, Keith is one of the greatest guitarists of all time, one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and he's quite sincere as well. He always gives his real opinion on everything. And the first band is Led Zeppelin. Although he is a good friend of especially Jimmy Page, and Jimmy played with Rolling Stones when he was still a session musician, much really before, many years before Led Zeppelin was even formed. And he played with the band, and he played with Rolling Stones as well after Led Zeppelin was already a successful band. But, you know, Keith never really liked their sound, and he said in an interview back in 2004, in a session of questions and answers on his website that we transcribed, he said this: as a band, I thought they never took off musically. At the same time, Jimmy Page is one of the best guitar players ever known, and a hell of a powerhouse drummer, John Bonham. He said that John Bonham was great. I think it's kind of heavy-handed myself, but that's where the lead comes in. But at the same time, Plant is exuberant, Robert is exuberant. Absolutely Led Zeppelin, although I think he is very much in that English mood of Elvis, Roger Daltrey. There was the fringes and blah 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 and the microphone. He also recalled Rod Stewart and even Mick Jagger. They were scenes copy each other in a bit. But to me, Led Zeppelin is Jimmy Page. You know, you want to cut the story short, Jimmy Page, shy boy. That's what he said about Jimmy. And you know, he in an interview with Rolling Stone in 2011, he also praised Jimmy Page, but saying there was something a little hollow about the band. And he said that John Bonham used to sound like a thundering down the highway in an uncontrolled 18-wheeler. And you know, he thought that really Led Zeppelin was about Jimmy Page, and although he praised the other artists, he was never really a big fan of the band. And we move to the second one, which is The Who. It's kind of the same thing because he praised Pete Townshend, and but he never really had many good things to say about the other guys in the band. In an interview with Rolling Stone in 2015, he said that he always thought they were kind of a crazy band, and that the vocalist Roger Daltrey was all flash. I always thought Roger Daltrey was all flash. I love Pete Townshend, but I always thought the Who were a crazy band anyway. I would say to Keith Moon, if you were in a session with him, just give me a swing, and he couldn't. He was an incredible drummer, but only with Pete Townshend. He could play to Pete like nobody else in the world. But if somebody threw him into a session with somebody else, it was a disaster. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got that one paintbrush and you rock it. I just was never really interested in that many English rock and roll bands actually at all. I mean, I usually like guys like Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, and that was before I was even recording. But there was something about the Yeses and the Journeys and all that that just left me a bit cold. That's what Keith told Rolling Stone back in 2015. And the interesting thing is that in 2021, in an interview with Coda Collection, Daltrey said that the Rolling Stones were a mediocre pub band, and he said that he praised Mick Jagger, but he said that the band was like a pub band, a blues pub band, and you know, that was the counter attack that Roger had maybe for Keith. And we move to the next ones, which are Black Sabbath and Metallica. Keith has always been a fan of old blues and the early rock and roll stuff. It's really hard to see him praising a new band, although he loves, for example, AC/DC, but that's really blues based. Of course, Led Zeppelin is also blues based, but you know, it's his taste. But he never really liked heavy metal music, and he, in an interview with New York Daily News in 2015, he said, "Millions are in love with Metallica and Black Sabbath. I just thought they were great jokes. I don't know where Metallica's inspiration comes from, but if it is from me, then I fucked up." That's what he said about Metallica and Black Sabbath. And you know, and curiously, Metallica was the Rolling Stones opening act back in 2015 at some shows they did in San Francisco, California. And you know, that's the crazy thing. And it's interesting because Keith already slammed many artists who ended up working with Rolling Stones later. For example, he said bad things about Elton John back in the 90s when Princess Diana passed away, and he did that version of Candle in the Wind for her, and etc. And more recently in the album, this most recent Rolling Stones album, Hackney Diamonds, Elton John played with the band, you know. So there's a lot of stuff. And the final band that Keith doesn't like that much is the Grateful Dead. And I mean, the Grateful Dead are probably one of the most successful American bands of all time, and not in terms of record sales, because they sold an estimated amount of almost 40 million albums, more or less, but they are one of the bands that played to an incredible amount of people. They were always touring. They had one of the highest grossing tours of all time, and they were extremely successful live and extremely influential as well. But Keith doesn't like them, and he said this in an interview with Billboard in 2015. He said, "The Grateful Dead is where everybody got it wrong, just poodling about for hours and hours. Jerry Garcia, boring shit, man. Sorry, Jerry." That's what Keith told Billboard in 2015, and that's what he said about the Grateful Dead back then. And you know, he's not it's a bold statement. I personally like the Grateful Dead, but you know, reading what he said, he meant about the band being a live act, and they used to improvise a lot live, and the songs were not always played the exact same way as in the studio, as the original recording, etc. You know, it was always an experimental show, and it seemed like that was not Keith's cup of tea, right? And that's it. I hope you like the video. It's interesting. It's some heavy stuff that Keith said about other bands over the decades, and I hope you like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment below, tell me what you think, if you like these bands or not, if you agree with Keith or not. And if you want to read more and read what he said about these bands and other interesting information about that, you can go to the description and read the article we have about this. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I see you later.